everybody. Welcome to another conversation with me, your host, Richard Bezaidnote. And today I got a very special guest on the show as we enter season 2 of my podcast, video casts, vid blogs, whatever you want to call it. These are real conversations that we have with experienced entrepreneurs, business people, looking at the landscape of small, medium, micro businesses in the South African context, so that you get the information that you need on what to do to make your business more efficient, for you personally to be mentally and spiritually, emotionally better equipped to deal with some of the challenges that you are going to face. And most importantly, it's so you know you're not alone out there. Today I got a very special guest. His name is Uwais, and welcome. How are you doing?
Thank you very much. Getting on towards the middle of October, looking forward to December basically, and just trying to get through the year at this point, but
Jeez.
doing well. Thank you.
Yeah, great stuff. Yeah, talk about December. My goodness gracious, my wife just came in early on, so we've supposed to be going to Namibia, but for most of this year we were unsure of whether or not that was going to happen. And then she dropped the ticket prices for flights on me at the moment, and that's just changed everything, you know. So now we have to rethink and sort of come up with a new plan or decide whether or not we're gonna actually spend the kind of money. It's a bit ridiculous because we are thinking for those prices we could probably go to for an overseas trip
Can
somewhere,
imagine.
and Namibia is just a couple of kilometers away from us. So interesting. So, Uwais, thank you so much for joining me. For the few people that may not know who you are, I know you fairly popular on LinkedIn. At least I see a lot of your content, a lot of your posts. Why don't you tell the audience a little bit who you are and what you're about?
I'm sure there's a lot of people who don't know who I am, but Uwais Asmal, I'm a chartered accountant. I've got about 13, 14 years experience. I've got quite a vast range of experience in my career. I've been lucky to work in bigger organizations, big listed organizations, small listed organizations, and then your small SMEs of 6 people and your slightly bigger companies of 20 to 30 people. So I've got the range of different types of industries, different types of companies, and I think I've learned a lot in going through and working in these different types of companies. Also, some of them were in the financial services industry, some were in real estate and investments, and now I'm in financial advisory and consulting, which is a different place to be, and where you help a lot of SMEs. It's just something I enjoy because you can make a big difference to the life of an entrepreneur. If you save an entrepreneur 100,000 rand cash in their tax, they can maybe go overseas, or they can maybe employ someone, or they can maybe go on that Namibian holiday, or they can. I mean, it's a benefit to the economy. So yeah, I guess that's me in a nutshell.
Yeah, so I know the landscape we're living in today. Some would argue that it's this high impact, and I mean I don't argue against those things, but from my experience owning a small business and growing a small business, it's nothing new. The terrain in small business has always been one of challenges. These are obviously the unprecedented challenges, worldwide challenges everyone's faced, but you still have to deal with an unknown event happening that could potentially cut off your revenue supply, your product supply. So you don't have, if you're importing, you didn't have products coming in for a while. Meeting all those demands on your business, the contractual things that are still there. And what's your view? What have you seen in terms of some of the language, some of the resilience or lack of resilience in the small businesses that you've encountered, and maybe some of the feedback that you get?
I guess, I mean, look, there's no textbook that you can find the answer for this one. It's never been experienced before, so
Yeah.
there's only, I mean, you can look to maybe other business leaders for experience, but I mean, we are in uncharted territory, and I think in terms of the companies that have maybe done well compared to the companies that have not done so well, the ones that done well, they and it's an overused word, and maybe pivot is not the right word, but they rationalized, or they took action immediately. Whereas the ones that maybe didn't do well put their head in the sand and said, "Oh, we'll wait it out and see what happens." Um, yes, there's some companies took difficult decisions of salary cuts and salary reductions, and some even went through to retrenching certain employees, which is never pleasant for anyone, and never the first option for anyone. But I suppose you have to decide between saving one job and saving 10 jobs, and I mean that's a tricky situation, and I mean I don't envy people in that position, and it's definitely not an easy position, but sometimes you have to make these tough decisions as a business owner.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I can sort of second that. I've gone through that. At a stage, our business was, 30 people strong, and just through various, not particularly just COVID, but in various stages, looking at the business, deciding where's the future, having to let people go is not comfortable at all, and you sometimes get put in a position where people don't see you as a human anymore. They see you as a business. And I've actually been
Yes.
called a corporation. It
Oh
was
wow.
it was a tough thing to hear, but I mean, somebody called me a corporation, and I get it. I understand that there's a perception that because you own a business, suddenly the money is flowing. You don't have any financial issues because you must have a lot of money. And a lot of cases, that's actually the opposite. The moment you start a business, you have you have less free time because you spend so much time working on your business. You have less money because you take all your money and you pump it into the business. And you do have a boss. You might not have a physical boss, but like you've got many more bosses because every client that you're trying to please becomes your new boss. So the landscape is difficult. It's tough. um, and so, just in business, the resilience, the ones who are putting their head in the sand, I mean, really encourage them to take their head out of the sand. um, and the ones who created the pivots, what kind of pivots are you seeing people making? Where is that heading to in your view?
So I mean, some people took advantage of the need for COVID cleaning, or for example, the big mask debate where people were price gouging on masks, which is not the way we expect it to be. But the people moved quickly. There were some people who moved quickly into that cleaning, especially post COVID. Whereas I spoke to one business owner and they said, "Oh yes, we're gonna send out a pamphlet to a company," and I thought that person is not going. Nothing is going to happen for you, and
A
I don't think
pamphlet.
anything has happened. Exactly, it's like we'll send. Like that's not. I mean, you have to double down on sales. And look, some companies have done well, especially in the e-commerce space. Um, and if you are a shareholder in one of the big American stocks, you would have also probably done well. But who knows how long that's going to last? It might continue. So I suppose it's understanding your business, understanding your clients. Something that I also read the other day was knowing how your suppliers are doing. Like you might be doing well, but your suppliers might not be doing well because their customers might be a range of people. Like they might have tourism clients, for example, that have closed down, and you might be one of the few clients that are still around. Or their suppliers might have an issue, and there's the chain and almost like a domino effect. If that supplier gets knocked over, how does that affect your ability to service your clients? So you almost have to think beyond your little bubble and think wider than that.
Yeah, that's great advice. And that's knowing your suppliers is something that I hit, and also just with our customers, we at some point we said no, we're not going to take on this kind of work because the projects are too big, they're too expensive. They're very rewarding in the long run, but in the short term they're very expensive for us to do, and so we made a decision not to do that. And some of the customers, our clients, were very sort of, they took it back. Most people just understood because that was something new. I mean, in terms of world events, but that is great advice. What
If
would
I
you?
can, if I can
Yeah.
even repeat just on something that comes to mind very quickly is landlords. I mean, you get those landlords who are playing the short term and the ones playing the long term. The ones who are playing the short term want their rent. Uh, and it's led to a lot of people just leaving or cutting their leases. Whereas the ones playing the long term said, okay, we'll give you rent reductions or rent free periods for a month or two or during lockdown so that they can retain the client for the long term. I mean,
Yeah.
and it requires that sort of long term vision. Yes, a little bit of short term pain, but you're going to get that pain in any case if you're being short, if your view is short term.
Yeah.
So rather take a little bit of short term pain and then not suffer in the long run, or keep a good client base in the long run.
Yeah, that's 100%. I mean, that's exactly our situation. We had a short-term rent landlord, and so now we are cutting our rent. We are and but we figured out how to run the business without having offices. There's so much advantages now from the work from home. People have gotten comfortable. Sure, it's not for everyone, but there are other options. So there's shared office spaces that those who want to work in an office environment can take advantage of that. We've created um, uh, you know a budget, sort of that people can tap into. Sort of here's an allowance for any work from home and sort of share offer stuff that they're allowed to use within a month period. I mean, it's not lots, but it's something. Um, so there's a view where when you look at the work from home, there's I can't remember where it was that I read this, but being a business owner, I've two views. So I'm compassionate about the people that work in the company, and I have a lot of empathy. But I'm also a person, and I do have a responsibility to run a company. And I saw this article that says, um, make sure that you aren't paying for the work from home expenses. And I read that with a little bit of, I was like, is that maybe also short term vision, where employees are expecting the employers to pay for, now suddenly you've got to work from home expenses. Oh, I'm using more electricity, was one of the examples. But when I read that, I thought, well, but you're also not paying for transport. So
Mm.
is there a balance there? Are you hearing those kind of conversations? Where is your opinion sit on that?
So I suppose within reason, there's definitely a balance on saving costs on the one side and making it up on the other side. It can be a problem, especially where there's no fiber and the people have to use something like 4G or LTE. Then it gets very expensive. Then you have to consider, can we cover that cost? Because at the end of the day, you're still making a decent margin on your employees' work. So as long as your employee is delivering the value for you, or the similar or same level of value, um, now is not the time to be nitpicky about smaller details if it's not making a big difference. Obviously, you have to do the numbers and think. Well, I mean, there's always a cutoff point for both people, but within reason, yeah, there's definitely a balance. And then you just have the outliers, like the guys that don't have fiber or don't have internet connection. It's like, okay, what can we do to help them, or how can we come to some sort of agreement? Okay, maybe you go to the work. I mean, the shared workspace that might be more affordable for you as a business owner, instead of trying to put in to pay for your LTE. And then there's a kind of a win-win situation, or meeting somewhere in the middle.
Yeah, it is. It's a definitely a collaborative approach when trying to solve these problems. And I speak for the business owner more than I do for the actual employees. I mean, I understand there's a lot of um, if you're on LinkedIn for any amount of time, you'll see that it leans very much towards the employee, which is fine. There's nothing wrong with that. But the employers, so small business owners, they don't always see the bigger picture of other business owners and what they are going through and the challenges. And I found that dealing with things in a collaborative approach is much better. You're not going to please all the people all of the time. So there's always going to be a balance, and I like that approach that you're saying, is that when you do collaborate, you can find a better ways, and finding the outliers to help understand their particular situation, maybe what you can do to solve that issue. Um, Cool. So I mean, just we've this pandemic is been unreal for everyone, and lots of businesses closed down. unfortunate know a few friends that have been severely hit, and they really just, some of them looked for this is an excuse to close down, sort of go, okay, cool, like, I'm gonna cash out now, or I'm gonna sort of close the business. Others did was involuntary, and they kind of had to. What would your advice be for now that we've been through this? There's retrospect, there's lessons learned. What kind of would be the points that you would make for any business going forward to prepare themselves to be more resilient? Should there be any, whether it be local, whether it be worldwide events that would challenge their business success and longevity?
I think I think we're still actually going through it actually, but what I would probably say is, uh, I mean, you can't because the future is so uncertain. You need to have some sort of idea, some sort of budget for and forecast and cash flow forecast in place. At the end of the day, cash is king, and if you don't have an idea of what's going to be coming in the next 6 months to 12 months, you are you are working very reactively. The only way to, because if you can estimate what your revenues, even if you're not completely correct, at least you've got a guide to work through. A lot of the guys do some scenario planning, or the business owners do scenario planning, where it's what's my base case, what's the worst case scenario, and what's maybe a high case, and then at least, and you'll fall somewhere within that range, and then okay, where do I need to, if I get to a certain level, this is where I need to close shop, because I'm not going to be making any money. If my revenues are going below that, okay, let's close the business. If I'm above it, okay, we can still continue. Where do we need to make some adjustments or rationalizations? And for the businesses that have actually thrived, what do I need to do? Because then you're in another predicament where you are, what do I do with this extra cash? Because you've never dealt with that extra sales before, so you need to plan for it. And the only way to do that is to have, at the end of the day, cash is king, and you need to have a cash flow forecast in place to kind of check
Uh,
where you're going.
yeah, agreed. I'm actually, for my podcast and video series, I'm busy editing one of the episodes where we talk about sort of the importance of reports in your business, and the view that I have is like you don't need any other report, just the cash flow statement in your first 3-4 years of running your business. Like you don't need anything else. Those other things are important. I'm not saying they're not important, but they for a business owner to make decisions, you have to know your cash position. So what
Okay.
can you afford? And I've even at points a life expectancy report from that, where we say, if the business was to make no money today, what would happen? And so
Yes,
we
the
kind of
cash
draw
burn
that
rate,
those
basically.
those scenarios. Um,
Um, I mean, if the problem that I notice, a lot of business owners, they run their business from their bank account. Okay, my bank balance is here, so I'm okay.
yeah,
They're not considering that they need to pay VAT in 2 weeks, or that they need to pay provisional tax in a month, and that's one of the reasons why you need to do a cash flow forecast. And the other thing is having that up to date information. Also doesn't help you if you're only getting that information a month or two later, because it's a month or two old. You should have
yeah,
reacted a month ago, and
yeah.
so you need that information up to date. And there's tools that you can use to have up to date information, so you can make decisions based on where your business currently is, not where it was last month, because it doesn't help you where it was last month.
Yeah, no, exactly. So, I mean, what are your favorite tools for people to use for small businesses? What do you advise them? Saying, we've got different phases of business. So, look at, there's a business starting out today, and there's a business that's probably been running for about a year, 2 years. Where's your tool set at that they should be using to help them with these things?
So, I mean, for any business, you need to have a basic level of accounting system that gives you financial information that's up to date. And we use a tool called Zero, and that the I mean, it's got many different good things about it, but the one thing that's really important is bank feeds, automatically pulling through your bank transactions from your bank account on a daily basis. So you know every day what your bank, and you invoicing from the same platform. You can check your short-term cash flow. There's an option to check. Okay, assuming my debtors pay on time according to their payment terms, and I pay my creditors on time according to their payment terms, what is my cash flow position going to be in the next 3 weeks, in the next month? There's a lot of other options that they give you. You can they've got options where you can automate or send your slips to the cloud, so you don't have to keep these boxes and boxes of things, and you can use your accounts to make decisions immediately. A lot of small businesses, they look at their accounts, when they do their financial statements 6 or 12 months after year end to get SARS off their back. But that's a waste of time. Those financials are just for SARS, and they're not of any value in terms of a decision making point of view. So it's important to have monthly management accounts so you can use those to make decisions every month.
Yeah, yeah, very true, very true. So I mean, I actually, depending on your frequency of transactions, I think you should be you sort of almost daily, or looking at things at least weekly. You should be taking a view of your business. So what were the movements this week? Am I gonna be am I on track? And so I talk about, so in my world I do reporting and analytics, and I talk about a budget is a plan, and it's always going to have the best plans. And you could have your conservative budget and your optimistic budget, but nobody has the world's gone to shit budget. So but a budget is just there sort of as a plan, and then you got to sort of say, okay, cool, where are we on this journey? How are things going? Do I need to make any decisions or take any actions that's different? um, so that the things work out according to plan. So that's why the cash flow is king. It's first, and then the budget maybe second, and then the income statement. So that sort of do your collection of your management accounts. Um, and so yeah, I agree that the reporting, managing your business, Zero is an amazing tool. I also look at some of the other tools that are out there. Wave apps recently caught my attention. It's a free accounting tool. You can use it just for invoicing, but you can use it for accounting, and you don't. It's not rocket science. A lot of the default stuff is set up. They don't have automatic bank feeds, unfortunately, but you can upload your bank statement. We'll do some stuff for you. But if you are on a tight budget and you don't want to spend money with Zero, there is options like Wave app. I know that there are some other free tools out there that you should use. You should definitely not be using like Word or Excel to generate invoices.
Definitely
That
not.
is a bad move. Excel is a great tool. I love Excel. I mean, and I know that the world loves Excel. And how where are you in a position with Excel? I'm just interested as an
So
accountant.
I used to use I still use Excel, but we use now a lot of we use Google Sheets more just because it's more collaborative.
Okay. Yeah.
Instead of having which version are we worthy with or which one is the final version, no, we've all got the final version. It's all online.
Yeah.
There's no Excel definitely has more functionality than Google Sheets, but Google Sheets is improving every few months. They update something and it gets
That's
closer and
interesting.
closer to Excel. It might never reach that, but I mean for unless you're doing like massive, even if you're doing pivot tables, but unless you've got like massive spreadsheets with macros and all these things, then yes, use Excel. But most
Yeah.
business owners, they just needed to get a couple of things done or a couple of calculations done. Google Sheets are a free platform. You don't have to fork out
Yeah.
your fees for Microsoft 365.
So I agree with 100%. Google Sheets is an amazing platform to use. So any spreadsheeting tool really is amazing because it gives you that, I want to do something quickly, and I want to see the results of that plan that I have, and so any spreadsheet software tool is amazing. Today is actually Spreadsheet Day. I don't know if you know that. So it's a
Didn't actually know
celebration
that.
of VisiCalc was released today, like 10,000 years ago. I think it's 35 years ago. So it's a spreadsheet day today. I'm attending an event this evening in celebration of it. Just because I'm a data geek, and so I thought that was interesting. But yeah, Google Sheets definitely a great option to use. There's another few apps. I'll link some of them in the description if you're interested in looking at some of the other options there for you. Um,
What
I'll
if I
get
can say something? It would just be
yeah,
like look for those cloud apps. Like whatever you
yeah,
do, I mean, you can decide between which one you like and which one you don't like. That, I mean, you might have a personal preference, but don't be getting desktop software. That's all I
Yeah,
ask
yeah,
in this day and age. Like, there's still certain people looking like desktop accounting systems, or they've been running desktop accounting systems,
yeah.
and desktop other systems. It's like, now is the time to move to the cloud. Well, if you haven't done it and you're not, uh, you should be doing. That's where you should be going.
Yeah, it is. I mean, a thousand reasons. I'll just give sort of the two that's on top of mind is that if your machine crashes, that you can always, that your data is not gone. You can always just use another data. And also, if you just like, there was a few years ago a lot of um, piracy hacks. So people would hack into your computer, lock your computer, and you wouldn't have access to anything. Whereas that happens today, I'll just go, okay, cool. I'll just reformat my machine and I'll sort of connect everything again. So
Yeah.
so that's the two great reasons why you wanna move to the cloud, and obviously collaboration is a big thing. It definitely helps you.
I
So
also like the idea of sitting on the other side of the world. If I'm sitting on the beach in who knows where, one day when I'm big, I can still have access to whatever I need.
yeah, so mobility, great stuff. All of those good things. So, Wes, you're quite popular, or you are, at least in my timeline, on LinkedIn, um, and a lot of, it's still. I mean, it's 2020. I don't understand people still talking about, uh, oh yeah, social media is not for me, and I go, yeah, it's not. It's for your business and your brand. It may not be for you, but your business and your brand. Um, what is the kind of things of why would you recommend somebody join any social media platform, and probably with bias, I don't know where you are elsewhere. What is the ones that you think a small business should get on today?
So, I mean, from a small business point of view, previously people would go to the Chamber of Commerce, or they'll go to networking events. And those are still there's valid places to go, but especially in the time of COVID, I mean, it's a lot easier to grow your brand online than it is to have to go to a Chamber of Commerce, and it's easier to make connections. I mean, we wouldn't be having this conversation. I've had conversations with people I'd never have conversations with if it was not for putting myself out on LinkedIn and connecting with people. And social media sometimes can have a bad reputation, but uh, it's also it's the people on the platform that use it that make it bad or good. Luckily, I think from a LinkedIn point of view, it's a little bit more professional. There's not as much negativity, I would say, as Twitter, although Twitter is a good platform. But from a business owner point of view, depending on who your target audience is, I mean, you can use Facebook to advertise. You can, and that costs maybe a little bit. And LinkedIn is good for let's say non-paying growing of your brand. Depending on, you need to assess who your target client is and your target audience, and then start creating content for that. The one problem that I see, and I actually had it this morning, was I commented on some business's profile, and this morning I get a message saying, "You commented on my profile. Would you like to buy my services?" I'm like, hold on, I'm never gonna comment again on your profile because you're already trying to sell me. Like, it's about growing your brand and gaining not followers but people who are fans of who you are. And once you do that, then you can start talking about your services. And if you start selling immediately, you're not going to get anywhere.
Yeah, so I mean, I get that often. I'm also on LinkedIn. I use LinkedIn and Facebook. Those are the two platforms that I spend a lot of time on, or at least I don't spend time on it. I invest in those platforms, to get brand engagement. Um, and you said you commented on a brand's profile page, and you sort of got hit up immediately with a sale. So the interesting thing that I see happening, and I've got views, but I'm interested to your perspective is: do you think you should build a company page or personal brand?
So I think you could do both, but also I would say the personal brand, also because LinkedIn, from an algorithm point of view, pushes out your personal profiles more than business profiles. And in the event that you pivot or you change your business, you can take some of those or potential customers with you. Whereas if you have a business, yes, we all love our businesses, and some of us want to take it to our graves, but you never know what's going to happen in a few years. Um, you are especially from a small business point of view, you are more I mean, you're the driver of the business. So people people like to do, and the other thing that I also like is people like to do business with people. They don't do business with businesses. Even if you're selling someone, it's one person talking to another person. People do business with people. So I would say I lean more to the person's profile than the yes, it's important to have the business profile because they're gonna go in onto your personal profile and say, oh, he works here, and then they're gonna click into that and they're gonna see, and if there's no information in it, then you potentially lost a sale. Whereas at least there's a about section and things like that about your business,
Yeah.
then you still got potential customers.
Yeah, I agree with that point of view. I mean, I've got both, and the traction on my personal profile is definitely a lot more than on the business profile. And what I found was that when I was trying to promote the business profile, I pretended like I was like Ford Motors or like Woolworths or something, and you talk this very corporate type talk, and you go like, but that's not me, that's not how I speak, and so people can't identify with that. Whereas speaking from me, my personal profile, I'm able to be myself. And
Mm,
it's true, people like buying from people. I say, no matter what kind of business you're in, whether you're B2C or B2B, behind every B there's a C. So there's a consumer, there's a person. So you got to understand that first, and you've got to understand you and your product. You can't sell to everyone. You have to, you know pick or know who your customer is, the people that's going to buy your products, and speak to them. I mean, this week I just released my first training course, my online course called Data to Dashboards: How to Build Amazing Reports Without Using a Single Function in Excel. um, and I was surprised by the response that I got. I thought I'd make one sale, but I made seven, actually. Well, I think, but nine sales
that's yeah.
overnight. It was the dream. Like, I woke up and I had two more sales. It was amazing. So, but I worked really hard to put that course together. And you go through these phases of sort of imposter syndrome, and you think like, oh no, this. So the hard work will start now, where I will have to go in and start making sure that that course is good enough, getting feedback from customers and talking to them. The good thing about being the personal brand on LinkedIn is that I'll be able to connect with those people. I mean, I've had some people sending emails like, congratulations, well done, and actually have taken the course and given me some feedback, say like, this was great, this wasn't so great, which is fine. But because we connected personally, they don't see me as a corporation,
Yes.
to sort of bring
Mm,
that back. They see me as a human being, and it's allowed me. I think the big difference is, I love sales. I mean, I love business in general, and sales is super important because sales is the lifeblood of every business. But it's because I produce content for a number of years. Every now and again, I
yes.
do a promotion. I do ask for the sale.
Yes.
And speaking to my wife and saying like, so this week is all about planning promotion. It's doing the hard reach out, sending WhatsApp messages, phoning people. It's the direct sales part, to get those numbers up, to make sure that people are seeing or know about my thing, not just trusting, putting one post out on LinkedIn and then saying, oh, LinkedIn doesn't work because I didn't make any
Mm,
sales. I
yeah.
mean, what's your
But
strategy on LinkedIn?
so coming back to your question on how you were talking from a company point of view, I mean, people can tell when you're not being genuine, and nobody's gonna buy from, or nobody, not necessarily, not even buy. Nobody's gonna converse. Nobody's gonna engage with anyone who's not being genuine. I listen to a lot of Gary Vee's talks, and I mean, we've been we're so used to being sold so much. Our radar for nonsense is quite high, so we can tell, okay, this is a sale, and then we almost block it out because there's so much information coming. We have to sift through that. So if we're dealing with personal brands and talking to we much, it's a social platform, so we'd much rather engage with people and be genuine than uh, some business that we don't you don't know if it's got a soul behind it or not.
Yeah, yeah, that's true. So it is important to be genuine, understand that you are um, dealing with other people that are aware, and also, like, what I advise people is just think about the the last time you bought something, like what was that experience like, um, and for those businesses here that are watching this, I think that you got to go in for the hard side all the time. You don't have to, like, you got to ask, what's in it for them. So
Yes.
the person that's going to be receiving, what's in it for them. So you can't pitch your
Yes.
things just for pitching sake. It's running around trying to get, and just because one person was interested, they say, yeah, but that works, and say, well, I mean, it could
Yes.
work better if you just sort of played a longer game, you planned out a little bit more, you could have a better return. So for me,
I mean, it's also
yeah,
about giving value without expecting anything in return. If you give someone value, after a while they realize I've gained value from this. Oh, actually, what does this person do? I actually need a service. You've sold them without selling them,
yeah.
because you're not trying to pull them into something else. You've made their life easier or better in some way, and then afterwards they're more interested in you, and then afterwards the sale could come if you ask and they see, and then the sale comes.
Yeah, 100%. I don't know if this has happened to you, but what's happened to me over the years is that, I wouldn't talk about business or anything. I kind of talk about the stuff I do, but not particularly in business and not selling anything. And people would reach out to me and say, hey, I've seen your stuff. I went to have a look at your profile. I see you do this. Like, could you perhaps help me? Could we do a call or something like that? And they've turned into customers. And I mean, my years of experience, I've been able to win over big businesses based on this. I mean, Woolworths is one of my clients. Oceana Group is one of my clients. These big businesses, Vodacom, and that's because not because I whatever tenderpreneur. I mean, I don't really know how to follow the tender, but it's because someone on these platforms followed me, engaged with my content, liked what I to say, do, then felt a connection with me, dug a little bit deeper, and then reached out. And then suddenly I find, oh wow, you work at this big company, like, so that's amazing. So there's also like, I mean, I look at that and I go, okay, cool. Some people say like you're lucky, and I agree with him. I say luck has a role to play. Luck definitely has a role to play. But if I wasn't putting out content, I wouldn't get lucky.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
if I didn't have years of experience, I wouldn't get lucky. If I didn't put out a product, a service, something, tell people that I've got this day, I would not get lucky. So it is do the work, put the stuff out there, and the luck will come. You may not get
Mm.
lucky your first time, but you do. The luck does come, and then
And
and
also,
then
it's not a short-term thing. People shouldn't say, "Oh, I'm going to do the work now. Next week, I'm going to get the sale." That's not how it works.
not at
Sometimes
all.
it's very good. I mean, your sales 6 months from now or 3 months from now is because of the work you did now.
That's right.
And the sales that you're getting now is from the marketing that you did 3 months ago or 6 months ago. And you
Yeah.
have to look at it like that. It's not like, oh, everything is a sales call and then I got the sale from the work I do today. I get the sale. This sales part is important, but it's a combination of marketing and sales, which is
Yeah,
different.
and then I find that some people get sort of over analytical. They try to say no, but they want to see the efforts tie into this, that, and the other. And I get it, especially if you're a big business. You want to make sure that you know what efforts are working and what's not. But when you were small business, you just measure your activity. Were you active on LinkedIn? Did you post things there? And are you seeing some correlation between your results a few months, and then you can try and measure that back, but you don't need to be over analytical. You
Yes.
can you and there are times when people say to me, well, what kinds of content must I put out? And I do notice that so controversy will always get a lot of attention, but be very careful with those kinds of posts, that because even though your stats, your numbers, if you're chasing the numbers, you're chasing vanity. My post got, 2,000 views, my profile's got 8,000 views, all of those things, but your general views are like 300, whatever the numbers are, that's actually not important, not at all. Those are vanity. I always, when I talk to anyone else who asks me for advice about social media, I say, be on social media, be your authentic self. Like, your tribe will find you and they will follow you. and but make sure that you are not looking at vanity, like the number of likes, because then you're going to post those kind of things which will take you away from your authentic self. You'll just, as you're looking for the attention stuff, and you get lost in it. So you build up a following that isn't actually your ideal customer, and then you're wondering why people aren't buying. It's because you can have a smaller base. It's better to have 100 followers and 90 of them all buy your products when you release it, when you do put something out there, than to have 10,000 followers and 90 of them buy your products when you put it out there. Like, that percentage ratio is really important, because as you grow, as you put more things out, and you have that authenticity, so a 90% ratio is way, way, way better than a point something ratio.
Yes, no, agreed.
And so you want to be that authentic self when growing your brand on any social media platform.
Because you can't be everything to everyone. You only need a certain number of customers to grow your business.
Yeah,
And I'll even turn it a little. A lot of the guys don't, or a lot of the business owners don't. They want to see these metrics and they want to see these numbers, and you can't always see it. But what I would say is, from a business owner point of view, switch your thinking to, if you want to say, okay, is it worth spending rands, or spending money on this sort of marketing? What I would suggest is, okay, you can't tell necessarily the return. Take whatever your revenue is and say, okay, what percentage is comfortable for you? Say 5%. That's my marketing budget for the year. Whatever happens, I'm spending that 5%. If I don't make the revenue halfway through, I'll cut the marketing budget to that 5%. So in your mind, you know you've spent it, but and that's your budget, and you're not overspending on marketing or the time, but you're still getting some value out of it, and you're still getting something without necessarily seeing those numbers that you want to talk about. As long as your sales are increasing and you can see that the people are coming from that platform, that's the most important thing.
yeah. And so, and some of the other parts of like a new business, or where they're questioning the value that social media platforms bring back to you, and they say, I don't have time for this. I always say, like, yeah, but if you time doesn't exist as a tangible, man. You've got to create that time. You've got to find the ways to make it useful to you. I know you shared some of these things before. What are the tools that you use to help you manage first your time and your time on social media?
So I think it's social media. If you don't watch out, can take up a lot of your time, and then it can be an endless pit of engaging and checking on other people's profiles. So I'm quite fixed. I do 15 minutes in the morning, 15 minutes at lunch, and then 15 minutes after work, and maybe once more in the evening, so that I know, okay, I've got, maybe that 15 minutes might increase to 20 minutes, but I keep my time, and then I still have time for other things, and then it's an hour. And I mean, I not that you need to, as a business owner, need to invest 2 hours or hour and a half every day, but I, as a person who engages, and this is me who engages a lot. For you, it might be, okay, 15 minutes a day before I start work, I'm going to focus on that. And if I see value after that, then you increase it. But without taking too much of your time, start small, but just be consistent every single day.
Yeah.
And you should start seeing returns from that.
Yeah, and then you also you're using some of the tools that are out there to help you with the pushing out your content as well. I actually started using Hootsuite based on your recommendation. I used to use another platform called Meet Edgar, amazing platform for evergreen content. But I found it made me lazy, because what it would do is you could have like 30, 40, 50 posts that you 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 create, and it'll just kind of run through those all the time. When it gets to number 30, it starts back at number one, and,
Okay.
and it's amazing. So but in Woodsuite, I looked at it and I was like, okay, cool, I'm gonna try this. So I actually use a variation. I'm organic, so I'm actually posting stuff myself, and then I would have things that go out through scheduled tools,
Yes.
and those kind of things, just to help manage the time, so that I'm using the platform, I'm not consumed by the platform.
Yes.
So
Yes.
that,
Yes.
yeah, it's I think commenting, I find, helps. So when you actually are genuinely engaging other people's content, and you comment and you read it and you think about it and then respond, is also great. Be careful not to fall into the trap of judgment, You
Yes.
can offer constructive criticisms. I have a different point of view. Here's how I see it. I get what you're saying, but I've seen these. Don't get into arguments on social media. It's a trap. It's just
And
a
I mean, you also don't have context of what actually happened. You just have the way they've explained it, and that might not be 100% correct, or you just don't have all the details. So it's tricky. It's tricky to shouldn't you shouldn't be combative or argumentative. Definitely not. I
definitely.
mean, in terms of Hootsuite, that's helped me a lot in terms of scheduling, because I basically don't post in the week. I only post I schedule my time on half an hour on the weekend, and I post all my posts for the next 2 weeks, and then I'm only engaging. And commenting on other posts is important, because your engagement will drop if the platform sees that you're only posting your own stuff and you're not engaging on other people's posts, because it's a social platform, and if you're not being social, they will penalize you.
Mm. Yeah, so this has been insightful. I've enjoyed this conversation, and so what's your message? So, I mean, if we've built an audience, we both built audiences, we built contacts, and we spend a lot of time. What would be the thing that you would want people to take away from this conversation, and how do people reach out to you?
So I guess two things is, um, it's not a short term game, it's a long term game. You need to invest some of the time, and but the main thing is, don't be afraid to try. A lot of people are self conscious, and they say, maybe I shouldn't say, maybe I shouldn't put this post out, or did I do it correctly? Maybe my words are a little bit wrong. What are people going to say? Don't worry about what are people going to say. As long as it's ethical and fair, put the post out. My biggest responsibility will come for posts where I was like, maybe I shouldn't, or don't try to aim for perfection, because if you aim for perfection, you're not going to do. Rather, put something out. You learn a lot from doing and adjusting. Whereas if you're trying to figure out what's the best post, it kind of stops you from posting, and then you don't learn anything. Whereas if you post every day, it's like, oh, okay, maybe I should word this a little bit differently, or maybe I excluded a call to action, or maybe I excluded this. For my next one, I'll try something better and then see what happens. Always try and test to see what happens. Don't try and figure it out and hope for the best.
Yeah, I agree with that. It's you look at it as life is this one big experiment, man, and you should be enjoying yourself and having fun, and don't worry too much about being judged. Nobody's judging you, especially in the beginning. Like, just honestly, like, no one's gonna see your first couple of posts or videos and everything. And I've been doing a lot more video based content, like, sort of as my go-to. I enjoy the camera. In the beginning, I was very nervous, and I'm talking beginning 2015. you know Taking my phone, and I do what everyone does in the beginning. Is they pick up their phone and they shoot, but they look at themselves in the screen instead of looking at the eye of the camera,
Yes,
which is
and your
somewhere in
eyes
the
look like
corner.
they're going that
Yeah, it
way.
looks like you're going somewhere else. So you gotta. Those are small tricks that you learn, and I've learned to be comfortable to shoot something and be okay with it being sort of mistakes. I'm a bit quirky now, so my personality is coming through. Um, but yeah, in the beginning you're gonna make a lot of mistakes. Be okay with those mistakes. It's authentic. It's think of when, you know 10, 15 years, when you mega business and you as big as Amazon, and people are going to look back and dig in this archives and go, look where this person started. That's so they're going to also feel like they can do it too. And that's also an inspiring story, is that we all start somewhere. You look at Jeff Bezos, back in 99, when they show that picture of him in that office where the wires are lying around, and that's how Amazon got started. And so if he can do it, you can do it too. And so I encourage all business owners, all people, not just business owners, people, grow in your career. Your the way is, you have to be out there. You have to be visible. I had this course, Data to Dashboards, Excel training course, which I've got 25 years of experience in IT and building systems and working for these massive companies and doing things. And it took me such a long time to put out this course, you know. And the I was like, oh, no one's gonna buy it. But the rationale behind it was, well, if I don't put it out there, no one can buy it. And so you have to put something out there, and you look at it as a hypothesis, and you go like, oh, okay. So already my hypothesis is destroyed because people have bought the course in just one day, and I was looking like in a month I'll make one sale. So in one day, that's already blown out the water. My great monthly target, which was 10, is already gone, and that so 1 and 2 days sort of, yeah, and so I have to like reframe. I think like, okay, wait, this could actually, like, it's people want something like this, because there's a very
The market is
specific.
the ultimate decider, not
Exactly.
somebody who's got an opinion on the other side. If there's a customer who thinks your service is good, they're going to buy it. So they are the ultimate judge, not
That's right.
some funny person on the other side of the social media.
Yeah, and because I'm so specific about the language that I'm using and the stuff that I'm saying, it's Excel, how to do Excel reports without any formulas. It's a very specific way of presenting the course. I'm not saying I'm going to teach you how to use the sum function or the VLOOKUP or the any of those functions, because you actually don't need it. You can create amazing reports just using the simple principles of like how to design your data. That's important, it's like a foundation, and then using the tools in Excel that probably it's probably in Google Sheets as well, but then nobody thinks to look at. It's because they're looking at the person next to them and doing what they're doing. And in social media, that's also something to be careful about. Yes, it's good to follow people that are successful, and some of the fundamentals that they're doing, like you're saying, it's put the right time aside, put posts out. Those are good fundamentals to follow, but don't you mentioned Gary Vee. Don't try to be Gary Vee. Like, don't try to be someone else and like be their style. Be your own style, your own voice, because there's only you. And there
Agree.
are people that will like what you have to say when you have it with an intent of what's in it for them, what's in it for the person that's consuming your content. I think that's super, super important. So, Royce, how can people get in contact with you? Should they be interested in learning more about financial planning and financial strategy in their business? You don't offer this no personal finance stuff like that, or like,
It's more from a business point of view. So it's more helping them improve cash flow, scale their businesses. I'm available on LinkedIn. You can, connect with me or send me a direct message. Uwais Asmal. It's tricky name, but it's Uwais and Asmal like the minister. So yeah, but you can get all of me on LinkedIn. Happy to chat. Happy to see where we can help and help grow your business.
all right, great stuff, man. Thanks so much. I'll link all of those details in the description of this, and if you're listening on the podcast, it'll be in the description of the podcast. So, fantastic. Thanks, everyone. It's been great chatting to you, Royce, and I wish you all the
Thank
best.
you. You as well.